Come and get started on a new mission, a new direction, a new intention. Welcome to 5.8G Alive at Connections 50+. I am Terry-Ann Joseph Brathwaite.
And I am Jennifer Gibbons Joseph, catering to all your prospects in the third act of life.
Economic well-being, social gratification, personal fulfillment.
Join us on Wednesday at 6 p.m. on Connections 50+ Facebook page, YouTube channel,
and on Gael the Caribbean. Good evening and welcome 5.8G Tribe to 5.8G Alive. I am Terry-Ann Joseph Brathwaite, one of the co-creators of Connections 50+, which brings you this program. And with me as usual.
Hi, good evening, everyone. And I'm Jennifer Gibbons Joseph, the other co-creator of Connections 50+. Welcome.
Well, this week we have a super, we on the home stretch, Jennifer. It is Emancipation Week. We're going into emancipation, which means we're going into our gala.
It's just a few days left. Yeah. All excited about it. Yes.
Exactly. And just to give some updates, well, the numbers are coming in, you all are lining up, everything is organized, and good news, some of you all called and asked those in the South who worried about driving up and so on. So hello, we have a maxi for those who are in the Southland who want to be picked up at points on the highway on the way up. Just give Jennifer or I a call and give one of us a call and we will certainly hook you up. So the numbers are there. So just to remind you, this is what's going on this weekend.
Hi, 5.8G Tribe, get ready for Connections 50+ Emancipation Gala. Yes, are you ready? Terry-Ann, let's tell them all about it.
Definitely, July 28th, we are back at the Cafe Blue. Oh, that beautiful location.
Yes.
It's convenient, it's accessible, and when we go to the Cafe Blue, it means vibes. But Jennifer, this time we having different vibes because we are partying.
We're partying from 3 p.m. to 7 p.m. All about lots of vibes and party.
Yes, the DJ is going to be up on tune, and while we're partying, we want to make sure that we come out looking how we had a lot of cuts. It's emancipation, so we want you to get the kit out. And Jennifer, what surprises we have in store for those who dress up and party?
Listen, we have enough course, lots of entertainment. And guess what? Prizes for all different type of things. You could do some African dance, model, sing, lots of fun. And guess what? I leave in Terry-Ann to tell you all about the food.
Listen, this is a gala. It is emancipation. So it's not brunch. It is a 3-course meal, Afro and Caribbean inspired. And we know that the chefs at Cafe Blue could really deliver. So come out, expect some real authentic African food with the Caribbean flavor, because we know emancipation is what created us to be in where we are. And we are going to have a ball. We are going to have live entertainment, music, dancing. And Jennifer, all of this.
Only $385. You know what? Listen to me. We always told them we get so much for your money, we continue to give you lots for that little bit of money. Yes.
Good. So put it on your calendars. July 28th. 3 to 7, we partying with Connections 50+ in our Emancipation Gala, which includes a 3-course dinner and of course non-alcoholic beverages will be free to you, and we are vibing. dressing up and looking great, having fun.
Coming out. So secure your tickets early. Give us a call, Jennifer, at 685-8834, or you can also call Terry-Ann.
682-9202. We're looking forward to vibing with you. Yay.
All right. See you there.
So, Jennifer, we continue with our Meet the Tribe. And today, we're talking emancipation. What does it mean to be Africa?
Emancipated, yeah.
So, let's have a conversation with this very, very special lady, Dr. Gillian Marcelle. Pay attention. It makes a difference. So, good afternoon once again, viewers. And we said we are continuing our Meet the Tribe, and we are in August. It's independence and it's emancipation. And this lady that we're going to talk to today is a special part of the tribe. We're all special. But she is one of the people that we'll consider to be a global citizen, but very rooted in Trinidad. So we are speaking to Dr. Gillian Marcelle. Gillian, welcome to 5.8 GLIs.
Thank you. It's I'm delighted to be here. You know, usually we are in a different context when we get together, but this is also great.
All right. People would recognize Gillian as a regular attendee at our social events and so on. So now you're going to be the other side of her. So, Gillian, I said you're a global citizen. Can you introduce yourself to our members? Who is Dr. Gillian Marcelle?
Certainly, sure. So I am born and bred in Trinidad and Tobago. I lived for most of my life up until 21 in Diego Martin. And then I left to go off first to study. And that journey has taken me to 4 different continents. So I've lived and worked on 4 different continents. And right now, and that included, a substantial part of time living in South Africa, where I still have a home. And I am currently leading a capital advisory practice, which is headquartered in London, in Washington, D.C., and with a senior team based in London, as well as colleagues who live in Johannesburg. And I spend some time in Port of Spain for family reasons. And we're pleased that we have a mandate with the government of the Bahamas. So I spend a fair amount of time in Nassau as well.
Okay. So this life, now I am seeing all kinds of threads that well, yeah. So we are dealing with someone, you're involved in arranging international finance for corporations, for governments. So I would say you're a person whose networks, connections run deep. And I would think then you are an Afro-Caribbean person, born in Trinidad, you've gone to South Africa, you live in London, you're in DC, you're involved in the world of finance. So let me ask this question and get right in. Are you an emancipated person? I want to ask the question, how you reach there? You're there. Okay. And in the context of what is going on with US politics now, and I have to just control myself.
So
are you an emancipated person?
So the answer to that is yes. And that's such a really timely question, because I've been having this conversation with someone on LinkedIn about probably the best philosopher to understand what human emancipation is about. And that happens to be a Caribbean female philosopher called Sylvia Wynter. And she is perhaps the most thorough and inspiring philosopher and scholar about the fact that humanity is something that is inherent in all of us. Full humanity. Humanity that cannot be diminished. Humanity that cannot or ought not to be put on a hierarchical scale. And she is Caribbean, and she is not very well known. And so one of the things that one of the ways in which I feel my emancipation is that I have no apologies with showing up in the world as a full human being.
And a full human being, if we were to describe what are the elements that compose and make up that full human being?
Well, I think a full human being is one who is interested in community, who is not interested in having power over others, but is really interested in the most enlightened form of empowerment. So empowerment for self and for your community and for your tribe, and for your people. And that should, at this point in time, also include for the planet, healing the planet, making sure that we are concerned about the wellness of the natural environment around us. And, native peoples, indigenous cultures, and Africa has a lot to offer the world as far as all of those aspects of what it means to be a full human being who is concerned not only about themselves, who's concerned about greed, who's concerned about selfishness, who is concerned only about what happens tomorrow and instant gratification. So ancient cultures really can help us to balance those elements of what it means to be a full human being.
Gillian, I like to come in here, and I like how you explained emancipated. But, normally, especially at this time when we celebrate an emancipation,
yes,
you always feel emancipation. When we talk emancipation, we are speaking more to us as Black people, Caribbean people, Black people, being emancipated in a way that we can now do better for ourselves.
Yes. Yes.
And we sort of narrow it down to more on the economic side of it.
Yeah.
Not yes, the social plays important, but somewhere along the line, it always comes up like if you don't have that financial power, like you're not emancipated.
Yes.
So I like how you put it, but what I would like for you to do is just link or how should I say, debunk
yes.
that aspect about the economic the wealth,
Yes. So the thing is that we're living in a world where financial wealth is very much the mark of power and influence. And financial wealth is very much concentrated right now in the wealthy countries in the world. And there are 13 white men and one East Asian man who have an own financial wealth of $100 billion. So there's $100 billion club where it consists of this small group of men. And for that reason, if your marker of value is financial wealth, then there might be a kind of a reticence and a concern that your people, your tribe, your community is not doing well.
Yeah.
But my pushback on that is that it is not okay for 8 men to have more financial wealth than 3.5 billion people. So it comes back to values.
Yeah.
And so African pride, to come to your question, and to perhaps make it very specific to Trinidad and maybe to the Caribbean. When our pride is sort of dinged because we believe that we're not part of the 1%, either in the globe or in the immediate small islands where we are, I think that there are three things that I would say to that. One is that financial wealth is not the only form of wealth. I think that's really important in terms of to remember that and to center that. The second is that not all of the wealth that is created in a capitalist system is created in ways that actually are beneficial to the world.
Yeah.
And so the Caribbean is the place that created the wealth for the very country that I'm sitting in right now, Britain, through the extraction of wealth and the enslaving of others, and all of the other stuff that they did in Asia. So the process of creating financial wealth is as important as the fact that you now have it. And then the final point that I would make is, and this is particularly relevant for our governments, financial wealth, financial resources are best used as means of supporting human thriving and healing the planet. If you're not doing that, what you're not doing is keeping us safe and well for 7 generations. You know, the indigenous peoples of the world say that leaders are meant to be people who think about a 7-generation time span. So for African people in the diaspora, I think that keeping those 3 things in mind would probably help with that sense of pride. But there are some other things as well. I think that, you know, when I was preparing for this talk, one of the things that is certainly true is that because the Caribbean and Trinidad is included in this, is very much part of the Western sphere. And so our very notions, our very ideas, our very perceptions, our very thoughts about what modern Africa is like is inaccurate. So even on in terms of the things that people hold and, you know, sort of hold in high regard with respect to financial wealth, they have no clue about where Africa plays vis-a-vis the Caribbean with respect to those kinds of issues, like the size of your average large bank in an African country, or, you know, the size of, you know, if you want to grade things in terms of the number of billionaires and what those billionaires are doing and so on, then there's a lot of African pride to be had in educating and informing yourselves about those things as well. So I think, Jennifer, that on the financial side of things, there's a lot to do to open up, to educate, to inform, but to do it in a critical way, because I certainly don't want to be suggesting that Africa has to mimic and create the same kind of concentration of wealth and dysfunction that exists in the US and in many other wealthy countries.
Gillian.
Thank you, Gillian. So it's all definitely, there need to be a much more in terms of education have to go on with us understanding through emancipation and knowing the history behind it and what is happening now in the global, you know, to say the global village. Yeah. Okay.
If I were to go further on that question, because I love the idea, asked you if you were an emancipated person. And Yes, it is true that for many people, they equate being emancipated, being free, free of worries, free of debt, and the general measure is how much money do you have?
And yeah,
And but money, the money that you have is an outcome. And as
yes.
you spoke about the human condition, which is a critical foundation for anyone who would you have to understand your human condition to be able to even dream of being emancipated. What is that human condition before you get to the bank accounts and those kinds of things? What are those elements that you see in Africa, that you see in the success stories that you work with in Africa, that ensures that they remain emancipated?
So one of the things that is certainly true is that there is a very, very strong sense of community and connection.
Mm-hmm.
And so I know you, Tarianne and Jennifer, you use the word tribe.
Yeah.
And that
Very
has
deliberately.
meaning. And that has meaning in an African context. And even before you get to your tribe, you have your clan.
Yeah.
You know, so your clan, then your tribe, and to some extent also because of colonialism and so on, that tribe, those tribal bonds and the responsibilities and so on to the clan might actually be even more meaningful than to the nation state. And I think that what is happening in modern day Africa is that the values around nationalism and so on are still being created and forged and really cemented. So I think definitely that sense of community.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, there is I don't want to sort of romanticize traditional values. Not all traditional values have been particularly beneficial for women, but there certainly are some aspects of traditional lifestyles, respect for elders, the kind of ways of solving problems and so on within families. Those things I've really always been quite amazed at the dualism that you will have your friends, your family, and so on. And when there are life moments that come up in contemporary Africa, that's when you see that the ancient and the traditional take place side by side with everything else. And that's like when a child is born, funerals,
Weddings.
funerals,
Weddings.
the burial rituals and so on around death.
Mm-hmm.
Like tremendous things like that birth. So not only when the child is born and named, but the fact that the rituals around the protection of the mother who's just given birth, and the fact that you still have the notion of burying the navel string. So that we say that as a sort of
A joke.
a
Yeah.
metaphor, but it's
Yeah.
real. People
Yes.
go to their home village to bury, the part of the placenta, the afterbirth. And it is also true that I think continental Africans are still much more in touch with those kinds of traditions, rituals, practices than we are in the diaspora. We have different ones, but I think that some of those very ancient and life-giving and community-oriented practices provide a kind of strength and an innate sense of dignity. So
Yeah.
there have been many studies about mental health. And you would think that mental health would be highly correlated with financial wealth. But young people in Africa are more optimistic, have less, levels of things like depression and anxiety and so on than their counterparts in Western Europe.
Yeah.
And up until the change of government in the UK was down at the bottom of a recent well-being survey. Like at the bottom, people were like, in a state of despair, where, just a sense of hopelessness and what was going on with the government that's just been voted out.
Yeah.
So Africa is the other thing which I haven't said, and I really should say this, is that, of course, the forecasts are for huge growth in the African population. And also it is a very, very young population. So whereas, the Hispanics are probably boosting the growth rate in the US to some extent, as well as other immigrants in Canada, so that North America is not looking too bad. But, most of Western Europe is not even growing its population at a replacement rate.
Yeah. What you have said there is so rich, but I'm again going to take one thread and pull it out, because we come back to our community. We're based in Trinidad, our community in particular, this 5.8G tribe. And in this month of August, we deal with our Afro brothers and sisters. And I love the point you make about what is my humanity, and it starts with my clan. And different clans make up tribes, and different tribes make up communities. And I love the fact that nation was not included, because very often the nation is an artificial and political concept that is put up. And we know that Africa was, you draw a line.
Divided, exactly.
The Caribbean, well, some people speak Spanish, French, English, Dutch. It just depends on who had the biggest gun in the biggest boat.
Yes.
But even as we have been separated from the motherland and we are here, we can identify so many things that are artificially put in place to separate the clans and separate the tribes and weaken the communities. And then we impose this nation business. And I am not at all denying citizenship and stuff like that. But if we are to get to a place where, if you look at the state of the group of African humans, the report card is not very positive, and it's not trending in the correct way. And I'm talking about in the Caribbean context here.
Yes.
And even as we look at Africa, and I love what you said, most people look at pictures of Nairobi, the major city, you look at whether it's in Nigeria, Kenya, South Africa, all of the major metropolis, and what they would see are crowded streets and people walking with things on their heads, and the streets are not paved, and they look for the elements that look like those buildings behind you as a sign of prosperity. So hence again, we come back to the dollar sign. Where is it? When in fact, if we have the lenses to look more closely, we would see tightening clans, tightening tribes, deep community links. And that is what is causing Africa to be the magnet for superpowers as they were.
Yeah.
Now,
well, and Tarian, the thing is that it is both, because I can assure you that there are lots of buildings that look like this. Right? As well, right? And so one of the things is that
it's selective broadcasting.
Exactly. And so it is about what lens is used to filter
Yes.
the views of Africa that we then latch on to. So that, and so, and so that, and that's because most of our information about the continent comes via the West.
Western media.
And Western media, and the direct links are, they're being recreated, they're being strengthened. There's been a lot of interest in things like having any Pan-Africanist, anybody who has African heritage can get permanent residence in Ghana now. Ghana has been very active in something called the Year of Return, actively encouraging a Pan-Africanist sense. And major institutions like the Afri-Exim Bank is putting up a regional headquarters in Barbados. They just had a very successful annual conference in Nassau in the Bahamas. And, well, of course, this conversation has been going on forever, but there is the perennial conversation about the air link.
Repatriation.
And the air link
Yes.
between, because it's a direct line between West Africa and maybe Trinidad. And if we were to get that, then we would be able to improve trade. But one of the things that is really important for folks in the Caribbean to understand, and I mentioned that our senior finance team, those guys are based in London, and one of them is Nigerian. And so about a year ago, when we were having some of our very first meetings, the first prep meetings, and we were talking about the population of the entire Caribbean being less than 20 million people rather. And he said, wait, what do you mean? What do you mean that the entire population is 20 million people? He said, do you know how many people there are in Greater Lagos? And so scale is really, really important. I mean, there are 3 million people in Soweto.
Which is a township.
Which is a township with 9 mayors. There are 9 mayors and 3 million people in Soweto. And so I think that one of the things that I encourage is a sense of humility and curiosity, because these countries are vast. Even the tiniest country, we'd have to really search really hard to find a country that had the same sort of, maybe Botswana, and then the physical size is like 200 times.
Right?
So you might have the same population, but then you have a physical landmass of 200-300 times several countries in the Caribbean. So I think what we must do is use the emancipation season for this kind of encounter. This kind of engagement.
Actually, I was going to refer, Gillian, I like the idea. I mean, definitely I am seeing how important it is that, as you said, from the clan to the tribe, to build that community for us to really be totally emancipated in all the areas, especially those 3 areas you mentioned. Because, as you speak, I am going back now, remembering certain things you said in terms of tradition. So I grew up a little era, I suppose, with Terrian, and I knew you and Terrian about the same age. So I'm way ahead of you all there. But I remember
seniority.
Exactly.
In terms of certain traditions, the burying on the navel string actually occurred, I actually
Yeah,
grew up with mommy and they used to do that.
yeah,
And when you do, there's a ceremony, you used to have a
yes,
ceremony.
Yeah.
Of course, we're very strong with the spiritual side. So
yeah,
the prayers and all that goes with it. But you also a story. We had a lot more stories were
yeah,
told, especially where you engaging in those traditions.
yeah,
And it's through those stories that we have learned a lot and we bonded more. And I want to link it to you mentioned about the mental, mental, and I want to say mental illness. Even in
yeah,
growing up, we knew, we'll talk with someone, they say they may not be right in their head in certain
yeah,
things, but they remain part of the family, part
Because
of,
they
of,
stayed
of
in the
the
clan
whole
or the tribe.
community.
mhm,
They weren't treated as outcasts,
yeah,
you know. They were loved, they were treated in a special, yes, because you had to handle them specially. But the discussion around it and what it did to help that person made a big difference. And I'm seeing, and I want to ask you here in terms of your experience and expertise. Now that a lot of those traditions, a lot of those community building things we used to do with that pride, we were very proud of who we were. And it wasn't about the money, you know. How can we, and I'm going to the Black culture now, going to the Black community
mhm,
direct. How can we redevelop through the
mhm,
education exposure, because they're modern times, and you explained, all that is happening right now within the African continent and what is being done, and the movement of the younger people to
yeah,
maintain and build that community or that tribe. How can we, right now in Trinidad, I have to say, we have a tribe and we are the older tribe. How can we, and I'm dealing with us now, the
yes,
older tribe, what can we do to build back that community, but build it in a way with the modern,
yeah.
what is
Well,
happening?
yeah. One of the things that I think we can do is recognize that all is not lost.
Right.
There are lots of things in Trinidad that have strong African retentions.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Actually, funerals might be a good example, right?
Yeah.
Because the way that we come together um, when sending people off, it's not perfunctory. It's not, anyhow. We really do still draw on that sense of what is the right way to send someone off.
Mhm.
Mhm.
The other thing that I think is another real strong point is our credit union movement,
Yeah.
because community lending, community saving, um, making joint decisions around money is very African. And I don't know that the modern credit unions in Trinidad, I think that they're going for efficiency, which is good, and good customer
Mhm.
service and so on, which is fine. But it is important that we don't lose that sense of that this is also supposed to be community serving.
Yeah.
That's so wearing both my finance hat and the question that you asked me about what can we do to
Yeah.
really bring back some of the things that would promote a positive development. And I think the final thing is probably around elderly people. because Trinidad is the opposite of continental Africa, where we have a demographic profile that is closer to Japan. We have lots of aging people, right? And one of the things that we can do is make sure that when the young, vibrant, sort of active in the labor force people migrate, because still 70% of our university graduates are migrating. We have to find a way of having a better bridge between the people who leave and the elders who are in country.
Yeah.
And that could then be a service if developed, because it's doing good for the people. And it's also, just thinking through that. When I worked for the private sector arm of the World Bank Group, we did a part of the work that I was doing in post-conflict countries was about the role of the diaspora. And it was very interesting because men wanted to go back to African countries, regardless of whether or not the country was in a mess after the war, because their dignity and their position in that society was so much better than whatever country they found themselves in. The women wanted to stay wherever they had grandchildren. Right? And so we actually included in this work that idea of a bridge, so that you didn't see the choice of having to return full time, but that you had services that allowed diaspora elders in particular to get what the men wanted, which is the dignity, the sense of respect, and the women, the elderly women, to have access to their grandchildren, but to also, be around their husbands or partners or whomever for periods of time. So, so there are lots of exciting things that we can be thinking of that are also innovative. And by the way, remittances, the money that folks from the diaspora are paying to the developing world, is now 5 times larger than overseas development aid.
Yeah.
Right? And not getting any respect, not getting any policy provisions, none of that. Because of course, we're still thinking about the developing world as a place where, again, England and the US, no, that world has been gone for a long time. And the policy has not kept up with it.
Gillian, we come back again to emancipation. And I look at our celebration, and it's worse than Carnival. It's so seasonal. At least Carnival is now, after COVID, Carnival is through the air. We have just admitted that it is an asset for us, our culture, our music, our food. I mean, in Trinidad now, every weekend, it's a boat ride, a party, a celebration. Soca artists and calypsonians are throughout the year working. We realize, and they work here and they work abroad. So we've given them the ghost about, yes, in February we have a big stage festival, but it's exported throughout. And I look at emancipation, and emancipation is, and supporters of the Emancipation Support Committee who are looking up will have to understand, you need to work much harder to get me to change my mind as to what is going on. But emancipation is a flea market in the savannah, preceded by a street parade. And people dress up and then they leave. And there may be 1 or 2 entertaining shows as you put it around. Nowhere in the discussion is this aspect of the richness of our our tradition in clans, our tradition in tribes, our tradition in communities, which are the pillars that have allowed other groups, whether they be Asian, Arab, Chinese, Indians, in our societies to grow and become stronger. We talk about how many times a dollar circulates
in your community.
And I think because of that temporariness and the disposable nature of the emancipation celebration, which I think is important, we don't build knowledge of the values of the beauty of the African and the values and traditions that have built those communities. And you're left not wanting to, most of us don't participate openly. So I wonder if there is still, all right, this is not good enough. It doesn't look rich enough. It doesn't need to portray my wealth and how well I am doing by whose standard, you know? And so I really do appreciate the points that and the points, the facts that you're bringing out, because that is how I look at myself as an African woman, that there are family values, there are traditions that are maintained about how we keep family together, we keep friends together. I identify clan and I identify tribe and community. It's almost as disposable as the North Stand was the carnival. So Ash Wednesday, Port of Spain had a certain look, but then CPEP came and it cleaned up. So now it's continued. And if we think of carnival seasonality 10 years ago to what it is now, the carnival stakeholders have come in and said no. So there's now permanently sound forge. You have bands with permanent mass camps that are presented with pride. And I really do think that emancipation cannot be a seasonal thing built on temporary structures that get pulled down and disposed of, and there's no evidence of emancipation post the short season. I think if that is not done, we won't recognize, except by economic achievement, our humanness, our culture, and the values that can be so rich and that can lead to economic success.
Yes, and the contribution, making sure that there is an ongoing understanding of the contribution of African people to Trinidad is really important, especially because the public face of Trinidad has been changed deliberately. So my mom is 94 and she complains daily when she's watching television. She watches mainly local television about colorism because we have sort of circled back to maybe 1970-ish type style
before
of what is
70.
acceptable.
The revolution was in 70. Before 70,
so before
the brown
70.
paper bag test is live and well.
Yes, because every day, several times a day, she complains about not seeing African people with African features, African hair, African, phenotype on the media.
Gillian, you're so correct. I just want to address what Terry-Ann is saying a bit. And you spoke about innovation. I think there is so much need for that. within and the other, let me just go back a bit. So emancipation, the way we celebrate emancipation is based on a very small group of people, right? So we have the Emancipation Committee, and they have done, I'm not knocking them, they have done all what their capacity.
What they could.
Right, I'm trying to put it nicely. So they have done that, and they have held on to it because they have made some inroads over the years. But we have seen in so many different ways the need for innovation to modernize the thinking. Yes, when you go to the village, they have displayed a few of they have honored some of our, as they say, Black heroes, a few.
Mm-hmm.
And as Terian said, it's there in the village, big. Whoever visit the village can see it. And after that, there is no such thing as a museum. Now they have the Carnival Museum and the Pan Museum. So you can't identify those heroes anywhere else but once a year, right?
Yeah.
They did, I think they had some magazine or something, but that's very short term. It's a season and it's over. So I think there's definitely need for innovation, for being inclusive, persons outside who may not, who choose not to dress in a certain way, but they're thinking very solid, very deep thinking, very community oriented. We need those people to be on board to spread the word. We have definitely moved away. I think over the years, we have digressed. So what your mother is seeing is what we conscious people seeing all the time. And it's very difficult because whereas we may see it and you because it's in your face, it's in your face. If you're conscious, it's in your face. And you ask yourself, how can we change? Again, we have to be moving forward. The persons who are responsible a lot for the ads, the advertisement and all that, we have many of our Black people also who not conscious and who endorsing that type of behavior. You understand? So
of course,
I see the need for innovation and I see the need for change, but change even maybe a group of people who don't belong to who thinks differently,
Emancipation
come up with their own ideas. They come up with their own ideas, separate and apart, and move forward. Because I'm saying that because I remember when Terian and I sat down saying we need to change the thinking of the aging.
Mm-hmm.
We do have TAP and we may TAP is the main group.
Yeah.
And we listen to persons saying they want to be a little more modern, you want to be more active, you want to do certain things. And we say, okay, we really, I wouldn't say take a chance. We decided to step out of that box and see if we could change the stage that we are on to be a more vibrant stage and a more thinking stage, an innovative stage. And I am seeing the need for something like that for us to push being emancipated in a different way. Add some more layers onto what we're doing to really feel emancipated and not feel that we last on the whole, we come that, then people say the thing that, oh, we last in the ranks. that we can't do this, Black people can't do that. And because they're saying that, because they are not seeing the faces in front
Yeah.
of them. I am very concerned about the younger generation who's not being exposed in a positive way. And yeah, I see the need for innovation and persons like yourself, Gillian, to really help with the education and helping us think of ways
I want
to
to,
make a difference.
before Gillian answers, I want to use her words. And I think, Jennifer, there may be a tweak required in what you've said, because one of the things that we love to do is pass on responsibility to other people to do what we need to do for ourselves.
Yeah.
And and looking for somebody to do what the same way we stood up and said, this is what we want, we created it and it's built. And Gillian, on your triple B framework, which you use as part of the model for building out, and people, if you want to understand who we are talking to, we don't tend to do it in this show. But just go to Dr. Gillian Marcelle on LinkedIn, Google the triple B
And that's
framework,
why I'm hoping,
and you
not
will
that I'm putting the
understand.
responsibility on you, but we wanted
But,
some,
but
a little push.
the point is, we don't, you have said that you argue for reimagining innovation as a knowledge and learning process rather than a technocentric performance obsessed with novelty. And I think our people, we lack, or I don't say we lack, I don't know whether we lack confidence or we lack energy, or it's easier to just deal with the trinkets, or we are obsessed that the result must be financial. So therefore, it must be a flea market, and it must be
Yeah.
somewhere I
Yes.
trade and I sell, but I don't have any panchayats where I sit down and talk about what's happening in the community. And do not tell me to reach out and help any of those miscreants who are doing worse than me, or who will tarnish my beautiful edifice with their poor achievements wherever they are. So the elements of clan, the elements of tribe, the elements of community are not valued. And in societies where they are valued, individual tribe members, clansmen, clanswomen, see the person next to them who they can assist. They understand their value. And just as we have said, we want to give to our clan 50 to 80,
Yes.
and we've created this. So I don't believe that, I think there are many models for us to be guided by. And that's why we have Dr. Marcelle onto the show. But I
Yeah.
think for us to see, identify, not to be ashamed, and step out and put the image we want to see out there. Because there was something called the CDC, the Carnival Development Committee, that was doing a number on Carnival. Then we got the NCC, and I think Carnival is a huge success story. Now you have the young people who have, there are so many well, they used to be micro entrepreneurs. Now you have corporate entities by the name of Marshall Montano, Kester Fantala. You have corporate entities like the tribe organizations that have just ignored what they considered to be not representing where they want to go. And they built their road and they went on it, which I think lines up beautifully with your definition of innovation. So, Gillian, what do you think of that?
Well, I mean, I'm very, very gratified that you went to the source, that you went to the words, that you went to the definition of innovation that I've put into the world, because that definition of innovation arises very much from, in 1991, the Caribbean was going to host Carifesta after it hadn't happened for a while. And I was working in London in mergers and acquisition. And so my day-to-day life consisted of flying around Europe, looking for companies for British Telecom to buy. And at the time, many of those companies were really bringing the connection between culture and technology.
Mm-hmm.
And so at 27, together with a group of other Trinidadians, we came up with a whole program around technology and culture for the rehosting of CARIFESTA. So let me get to the end of the story. Of course, the people who were running CARIFESTA looked at us as if we were crazy.
First of all, you're young.
Exactly. Took the model because my friend and collaborator, Sean Leonard, built an actual architectural model, which then went on to win lots of architectural prizes, and it was beautiful. So every time they had like a donor or something coming through, the organizers of CARIFESTA, they would ask him to bring the model, right? But that was it. But
Bring it
the
to
thing is that
not to you. Make it
if you live long enough, you see that really this was just about being too far ahead.
Yeah.
Because I had the honor of giving a keynote in one of the largest tech conferences in the world that was held in Saudi Arabia in Riyadh. And pretty much everything that I had imagined some 30 years ago was on display.
Good.
And I had two colleagues with me, one Trinidadian, one South African. And so, we landed in Riyadh, and all of the things that I talked about, distributed networks and so on, where you're basically, because my notion was that the thing that we don't do well is distribute information.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Right? So we landed in Riyadh, and there were these kiosks and screens and so on, all the way through the entire city was a combination of information about the conference. Is called LEAD, right? Mm-hmm. With branding and so on. And so that made me feel, you know what? When you have a vision, it may not happen in your lifetime.
Yeah.
It may not happen and it may not happen where you want it most to happen, right? But it was very gratifying to see that my ideas around distributed information and what that could mean for an event and an experience were right on track. Yeah. And so coming back, this ties into what we're talking about in a very specific way, because, and this is true for so many things, I did the first internet cafe for the Emancipation Village. So I can't even remember, because Asha and Kafra are my parents' very good friends, right? And so I mean, I must have been, I can't even remember. I must have been like in just left, maybe in my 20s. And as usual, I was interested in how do you expand the space in the Queen's Park Savannah to the wider world. And you do that through technology. So, way back then, there was an internet cafe at the Emancipation Village. And so, coming to what can be done, we could have Global Africa, an ongoing sort of investigation and ongoing showcase of global Africa and exchange between the Caribbean and Africa, because if you're using technology to do that, then it means that it is possible with organization, with a budget, with the drive, with the initiative to do that in a way that then you can then culminate things for the emancipation season, but you can have some continuity.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yep. No, this I think this discussion was very, very necessary. And our cohort, I think, is specially placed and experienced to have gone through all of it. We went through all of it.
Exactly.
We know what caused 1970. We know what caused 1990.
Yes.
We benefited from the education and innovation. And I think we're aware that the twinkling lights on the tree and the bubbles that have been exchanged, and we've prioritized it. But I don't think we've lost the values. I don't for a minute think that we lost the values completely, because when we get together, we know that it is a clan and it is a tribe and it is a community.
Yeah.
And the way we, as you say, we support each other at births and deaths, traditions of building family and bonding and helping and giving back from where you came continue. I think we just have to be courageous and bold, and don't think everything has to be a scale, on a global scale.
Exactly.
Let it be on the scale of your clan, not the tribe, the clan. And scale up from the clan.
But Terry-Ann, I have found though that somewhere it haven't been passed on totally. I still find that there is that, I would say, that missing link, that missing part, where the generation, the younger generation, I don't think it has been passed on enough for them to have that consciousness.
Some. I wouldn't put that as a blanket, because we do see them, Jennifer.
No, I'm just saying, I don't see it being, I'm not saying it's not totally passed on, but I'm seeing some slack there. I am seeing a slack there.
Some of us are slack.
Yes, and there's an interesting thing that's happening on LinkedIn now, which is I'm now an auntie. I'm officially an auntie on LinkedIn. And so where I think, Jennifer, there might be a role, it is for the generation that is in between us and the very young ones.
Our children.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And it might be, they might be a bit older than our children, because it's that sort of when you're sort of what I used to call being in the height of your powers, you really have, yes, you really have a lot to give. And you've been through some of the identity issues.
Yeah.
So you've left those things behind. You still have lots and lots of energy, and you are looking for some guidance, some wisdom, and you want to be associated with these aunties that you're finding. And so it's an interesting time. It's a really interesting time, because I think that it coincides with that notion of a global Africa, finding that African community wherever we are.
Yeah.
And having that as a part of our strength. Because if we are showing up as proud Africans, proud people of African heritage, wherever we are in the world, that is also a strength.
Exactly.
Oh, yeah.
Exactly. And the pride is not necessarily always going to be economic. It could be
No,
we
no.
care for and
Yeah,
love our neighbors,
Yes,
our
yes,
community, or we
yes,
take care of
yes,
ourselves personally.
yes.
It comes out there because our wealth is all of that. It is multi.
Wealth is all the, and we must also leave space for the folks who show up well with economic wealth. So
Yeah,
the Strive Masiwas, the Dangotes, the Tony Emalu, and so on, because people in the Caribbean, if they don't know that there
yeah,
are African billionaires shaping their countries, shaping industries, doing things at scale, then their education and their sense of Africa is too narrow.
they'll see them as a scam artist from
Yeah, yes, exactly.
yeah. Once you show up
Exactly.
African and a billionaire, you
Exactly.
you're a prince from one of those countries.
Exactly. Exactly. Real, and we have to be, we're laughing and it is
No, but
funny
it's
because of
serious.
course you have scam artists as well.
Mhm.
But the thing is that we have to be very careful about, it comes back to that whole thing about size, right?
Yeah,
And humility, because, when African executive, a potential investor, it might be someone from one of these agencies or banks and so on, is taking the time to think about the Caribbean region, because they have to think about the region as a whole, because no one country
yeah.
is,
Mhm.
I mean, Trinidad might be the exception,
yeah.
right? But the rest of the Caribbean is really too small to be thought of as investment opportunities, except if you're looking at them regionally or you're looking at specific things like, a big hotel or something like that in a place like the Bahamas, where it's still, a couple billion US dollars, and that is seen as being worth it. So there's a lot to do, but it's very exciting, and there is there certainly is no cause for despair.
No,
Right.
no, definitely, definitely. Gillian, this was one refreshing emancipation tour long break. And we truly want to thank you. I mean, the perspective of we could really get caught up in emancipation being a parade and fabric and dresses and a trade fair. And it is so much more. I love this sense that you brought of your humanity and the different aspects of it. And it does
Yeah,
not end up in a dollar sign. It's so much more than that dollar sign. So
yeah.
we truly, truly, truly appreciate your time. And if you could just before we end, if you
Yeah.
could just tell us a bit of your investment company. What does Dr. Gillian Marcelle do?
So RCB is a capital advisory practice, and so we work in three main areas. We advise funds, so we advise private equity funds. Um, my first client was a German private equity fund that was interested in investing in clean energy in the Caribbean. And this is where the credit union bit comes in, because I said to them, I know about capital in the Caribbean that you have no idea even exists. And I was able to mobilize investment from one of the major credit unions in Trinidad and Tobago to be an investor in this fund. And the investment is doing very well and so on. So we advise rather funds. We also advise countries. So we have as our flagship program, we have a mandate with the government and people of the Bahamas
Mm-hmm.
to advise them on their sustainable investment strategy. And that's like a 3 to 5 year strategy for sustainable investment. And we're very pleased that we were able to then get a grant from the Open Society Foundations, which is one of the largest foundations in the world, to replicate and share lessons about what we're doing in the Bahamas around the world. And then the final thing that we do is that I sort of can never take my professor hat off completely. So we also do research projects around transforming the finance and investment space. And so we've done a major project called Levers of Change on changing the finance and investment and economic space in the US in terms of racial and economic inequality. So we've done that work. It took us 18 months, and we've produced 9 research outputs that are on our website, available. There's no charge for that material. And I think that it's a reference work that can be very useful in other contexts, but it's very specific as well to how the largest and wealthiest country in the world can tackle what is a major dysfunction. So that's what we have been busy with, and it's, you know, the firm was started in 2018. There are not many Black woman-led high finance firms, and 2 of the senior finance specialists, one is another Trinidadian who's based here in London, has like 40 years in risk and insurance management. The other is a Nigerian who has like 30 years and has issued lots of bonds, maybe about $600 billion worth of bonds in his career. And then we have the other colleagues who are in the Johannesburg. No one really is in an office anymore, but based in Johannesburg, and other colleagues who are around the world doing the work for our clients and for prospective clients as well.
Great.
So thank you for the opportunity to explain what is it that we do and what keeps us going.
So
I'm about to thank you, Gillian, because
Resilience Capital Ventures is the name. You said RCV, but it's Resilience.
Yes, Resilience Capital Ventures. That's right.
Yes, great.
Gillian, I just want to say you thanking us, but we really, really have to thank you because it's a busy schedule. And to take that time to just chat and educate us and really give us that. You know, I just love that, how to be emancipated, really, when you say emancipated, that what we're talking about, and it's not just about finances. Although that is important, but yes, I really, look forward to us also. I see myself going a little deeper into how I can pass on information to others, to help with the emancipation process. It is so important. I am one all about tribe and community, and letting us really understand when we talk about, business, when we talk about humanity, what we're really talking about. So again, a special thank you for being part of our tribe.
Great. Okay.
It's a real pleasure.
Thank you. Great. What did you think of that conversation with Gillian?
Fantastic. I learned a lot. I am emancipated. Yeah. I have nothing else to add. I thought, all the information shared, you really have to think deep, that means really thinking deep and looking at how can I continue to help continue the tribe with the tribe, to build community,
Yeah.
because that is so important to our development, and so that's my thought on it. I thought, I mean, the conversation was fantastic. It was a great learning, for me. And yeah, so I took a lot from it, and know now to moving forward how I'm going to help the tribe.
Yeah, definitely. We are emancipated. And,
Yeah.
that sense of who are you as a human, if you don't identify your clan, and the clan
Yep.
make up tribes and communities and understand everything doesn't have to have a dollar sign on it. How are we living? That's what we need to understand to be truly emancipated. So we look forward to seeing a lot of you on Sunday at the Cafe Blue, joining us with our Emancipation Gala. And the next time we meet will be on the 31st, the day before our Emancipation holiday. So at that point, you will hear about the gala and we will get more into how we celebrating our emancipation.
Yeah, we should have other tribe member coming on to chat with us.
Okay, then. So see you. Bye.
Bye. Hi, 5.8G tribe, get ready for Connections 50 Plus Emancipation Gala. Yes? Are you ready? Tarian, let's tell them all about it.
Definitely July 28th. We are back at the Cafe Blue. Oh, that beautiful location.
Yes.
It's convenient, it's accessible, and when we go to the Cafe Blue, it means vibes. But Jennifer, this time we having different vibes because we are partying.
We're partying from 3 p.m. to 7 p.m. All about lots of vibes and party.
Yes, the DJ is going to be up on tune, and while we're partying, we want to make sure that we come out looking how we had a lot of cuts. It's emancipation, so we want you to get the kit out. And Jennifer, what surprises we have in store for those who dress up and party?
Listen, we have enough course, lots of entertainment. And guess what? Prizes for all different type of things. Could do some African dance, model, sing, lots of fun. And guess what? I leave in Terrian to tell you all about the food.
Listen, this is a gala. It is emancipation. So it's not brunch. It is a 3-course meal, Afro and Caribbean inspired. And we know that the chefs at Cafe Blue could really deliver. So come out, expect some real, authentic African food with the Caribbean flavor, because we know emancipation is what created us to be in where we are. And we are going to have a ball. We are going to have live entertainment, music, dancing. And Jennifer, all of this.
Only $385. You know what? Listen to me. We always told them we get so much for your money, we continue to give you lots for that little bit of money. Yes.
Good. So put it on your calendars. July 28th. 3 to 7, we partying with Connections 50 Plus in our Emancipation Gala, which includes a 3-course dinner, and of course, non-alcoholic beverages will be free to you. And we are vibing, dressing up and looking great, having fun.
Coming out. So secure your tickets early. Give us a call, Jennifer, at 685-8834, or you can also call Terrian.
682-9202. We're looking forward to vibing with you.
All right, see you there.
50 Plus Tribe, and follow us from Trinidad and Tobago and the Caribbean.
Thank you for joining us on this Connections 50 Plus 5.8G Alive show.
We hope you enjoyed the lively conversation and look forward to seeing you next week.
Don't forget, to like our Facebook page and subscribe to our YouTube channel.
We really love getting your feedback. Bye for now.